to crack the interviews in the first attempt itself. So here is the agenda, starting with the introduction. So we'll be going over the Salesforce implementation team structure. So what does the Salesforce administrator do in real time, and what skills an employer is looking for, and preparing for admin interview tips and secrets. Along with this, we'll be going over a set of sample admin interview questions at the end of the sessions. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with the introduction. So if you are a fresher or a newbie to Salesforce, you may be wondering about a lot of things like how Salesforce really helps business in real time, how a real-time project team will even look like. Specifically, if you are aspiring for an administrator role, you will have a lot of questions on what does an administrator do as part of the project team. So what are the technical and functional capabilities and employers will be looking for this role. So in this session today, we'll be sharing a lot of details on how things works in real time, which will be like the first step to understand the interview questions in the right context. So knowing the answer is different from knowing their expectations, right? So that is the reason we are covering a lot of different topics on the team structure and on the administrative job descriptions as well. So, and we will also be sharing some information on what skills employers are looking for with these administrator positions. Before we get further into knowing about the Salesforce administrator roles and responsibilities, I'll quickly take you all through the real-time Salesforce implementation model. So you may be wondering about why we actually look into this implementation model, but it will give you a lot more aspect on who this administrator will work along and what their expectations will also be on them. So let us go ahead and start looking into this team structure. So in real-time project implementations, a project team will have members from both the customers and as well as the IT partners. So when I say customers, they are the ones who are often referred as the clients for which the software companies create projects. So they are the actual customers for the IT companies. And there will also be members from the IT partner team. So we will see how a system administrator role fits in this typical project team. So I will not be covering in detail all of the roles, but I'll simply provide an overview about the roles that are there in the customer side. So starting with the business executive sponsor. So this role, when it is in a project, this is a customer side role. This ensures that the project goals are well aligned with the company's overall strategy. So they do work like gathering support, communicate goals between the various roles and overcoming resistance from their senior executives, still providing the ongoing direction to the project team. So they'll be handling a lot of these roles in a real-time project. And similar to a business executive sponsor, there will be an IT executive sponsor. Their responsibility is mainly to set the priorities on the IT about which one will be worked on first and which one will come later. Again, the approving the budget of that particular project and removing the technology roadblocks like subscribing for any third-party tools and applications. So they'll be doing this as an IT executive sponsor. And subject matter expertise. So subject matter experts are none other than the so they'll be like having a deeper understanding about the actual vertical or the actual business they are working for. So they'll be like explaining a day in the life of various roles inside the org and help with developing the flows and assist the user experience development and the user experience testing. So a lot of these will be handled by the subject matter experts. So these are all the important roles that we need to know with respect to the client side. So with respect to the IT partner side, so there will be roles like engagement manager, project manager, solution consultant, and business analyst. So we will not be covering this in detail. And here comes our system administrator. So as you can see here, system administrator will closely work with a lot of functional and organizational units and subject matter experts. So they'll be like the helping them to identify, develop, and deploy new business process. So this will remind the expectation for this role for an employer when they actually post an opening for this system administrator. So this role will be either on the customer side or on the IT partner side. But mostly the administrator will come with a customer team, and they have a greater scope and responsibilities in the project to make key decisions on the implementations when they are on the customer side. So again, this is actually a different representation of the same team that we have discussed earlier. So as I have said, so these are all the roles from the customer side, and these are all the roles. And it's not actually limited to these roles. There will still be many, but I'm just telling you the ones that you need to know as part of as you prepare for this interview processes. And Salesforce administrator. So here we will be carrying out all the covering all the responsibilities and expectations from the customer point of view for an administrator. So here, so this is the role. And so as I mentioned earlier, as you can see, a Salesforce admin will always work closely with the business executive and a lot of other decision-making people. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with what does an administrator do. So administrator, so as if a lot of sites, so when what skills and employers are looking for. So as I mentioned earlier, they'll be working with a lot of functional leaders and subject matter experts to cover a lot of their business processes. And so their responsibility includes working a lot with the profiles, objects, field level security, and all other things. So that is what they will be handling, like expanding or refining the sharing rules and access privileges, so the records can be properly viewed and manipulated. Take for example, the Sales Cloud. If you take the sales team, customers use Sales Cloud to keep track of opportunities and close deals, right? So with the help of an admin, the sales people can set up personalized dashboards, field alerts, and reports to shorten the sales cycle and track every lead in the greater detail. So this level of organization can lead to a greater satisfaction among the salespeople as well as their customers. And that's just one department I'm talking about, but we have solutions for almost every department in the team, like sales, marketing, customer service, and more. So as I mentioned earlier, a Salesforce admin will always closely work with the functional leaders and organizational units. And in addition to that, they will also be responsible for maintaining the security of the org. So when I say security, their responsibility will include regularly looking into the system audits on what change every team is making. So the case is when an administrator works for a customer side, so it will not just be like one project team working for them. So as you know, there are a lot of services available in Salesforce, like sales, marketing, and service, right? So there will be like different teams working for that particular customer. And this administrator on the customer side will remain the gatekeeper for all the incoming changes and making sure that their changes are coming in the right order, not affecting the existing implementation or not affecting each other's implementation. So their role is more critical than how we see it from outside. And so managing Salesforce.com data feeds and other integrations. So with this, you may be wondering about what is actually an administrator has to do with the data. But in real time, if you could see, so the administrator has the very crucial part of managing the data source and integrations. So if you don't have any idea about how this integration works, I'll just quickly provide you an example. So in larger businesses like manufacturing, the customer data will often reside in multiple places, depend upon their sales strategy. So say they'll be selling products through different modes, like they'll be selling through an online website, physical store, or through retailers. So it's like that they'll be tracking their customers in various places. But when it comes to customer relationship management, they'll obviously end up in Salesforce, and all their data they collect as part of their customers will end up in the Salesforce itself. So that is what we call as the external system integration into Salesforce. So there will be a lot of transactional data as well as the interactions between from and in and out of the Salesforce, and they'll remind the responsible person to ensure that it is happening, abiding all the security rules and governor limits. So this is yet another crucial responsibility that an administrator will be required to do. And so with that, if we go on, what skills are actually employers are looking for? An employer's expectations will normally fall under these two buckets, technical and functional capabilities. And if you think which one takes priority, there is no priority on each of these. So both of these are like integral, and none of them can be compensated over the other. So when I say the technical capabilities, it's like the skills to work with object fields, relationships, process builder, workflow, validation rules. It can be managing security or sharing rules. On the other hand, when it comes to the functional capability, so it's like working with a lot of bigger teams. As I have mentioned earlier, so they may not be working with a single team, but they will have a lot of interactions with many teams. And the problem or the crucial part here is, so when they receive requests from different part like sales, admin, sales, marketing or service, it is understood that they should be having at least a higher level of information on how things actually works in all those areas as well. So normally in larger companies, the information will come from different departments. So they should be capable enough to evaluate the information and work on things accordingly. And mostly the priority capabilities will be, the employers will be looking as part of this functional capability. And in addition to that, so they will also be doing this periodic check on how their system health is. Like they are responsible for, right, Salesforce does this release upgrade thrice in a year. They'll be like rolling out features quite often. And there are a lot of chances for some of the existing methods to be deprecated, or some of the existing features they can get deprecated in a particular release. And so it will often, sometimes in a rare case, it will end up in some unpleasant customer experience. So in order to avoid that, so their responsibility also includes this auditing process, where they will be once in a while, they will execute the Apex test, field utilization reports, and various other profile reports in order, based upon the needs. It all depends on the needs of the employer, on how frequently, on what areas they wanted to verify the health check. It all depends on the employer, but this will be one another responsibility an employer will be looking for from them. And on the ability to assess the impact of new requirements on Salesforce. So what I mean by saying this is, sometimes, most of the times, the immediate hot fixes or any minor request will fall under the bucket of an admin. Anything that works with configuration will normally fall under the bucket of an admin. Say if a request comes to make a particular field that accounts as a mandatory, and the request came from a service team maybe. So if it is like a simple page layout modification, making the field as required at the page layout level, or they can modify the field level security, or they can, in the worst case, they can write a validation rule in order to make it required. But can they do it without consulting anyone? So that's not the case for an administrator working with a customer. So they will have to work along with the other partners and the other responsible persons who are all dependent on that object and on that particular object, to understand the impact of this particular requirement that came from that service cloud. They should first analyze it, assess it, and then only they will proceed making the change. After getting everyone's approval, they will try, or they will do that change directly in that environment. So it requires a lot of communication as well as impact assessment skills. So when they interview for this, they will definitely look for all these processes. And strong understanding of Salesforce.com best practices and functionality. So this is obvious for any role. And Salesforce also, right, so there are a lot of features with Salesforce, and there is any kind of business problem, it can be solved with more than one of the features with Salesforce. So that is actually a good thing about Salesforce, but still when we find the right way of doing it, so we will have the best customer CRM experience. So again, so the administrator should also have the capability to identify and demonstrate the best practices of achieving something. And excellent communication skills and collaborative with well with the multifunctional teams. So this is obvious, right? So for any kind of job roles, excellent communication skill is required. But again, still, it is going to be a very crucial part for the administrators, because when they are looking for normally, right? So as I mentioned earlier, again and again, there will be a lot of requests coming to them, and those who, how big the issue or how big or small an issue be, those who are looking to the administrator for help will actually be looking for a quick and clear answer, so that addresses their concerns, right? They cannot simply say no or yes. They should provide the justification on why some change can be done and why some change cannot be done. So they should have like a kind of proper negotiation skills, or some kind of excellent communication skills to handle different level of teams. So that is one crucial requirement an employer will be looking for with respect to this administrator. So now if we can go ahead and see how we can actually start a career as an administrator in case if you are doing anything else currently. And also if you are in this session today, so you may be one among the two groups, right? So you may be a fresher or someone trying to change a career to Salesforce from a different technology. On both of these cases, the first step we'll recommend is to sign up for Salesforce Trailhead and start learning in-demand skills. So you will find almost everything from A to Z with respect to Salesforce in Trailhead. So this will be the first option we would suggest in case if you wanted to start a career as a Salesforce admin. And if you are a fresher with no or little technical background, looking at career in a Salesforce administrator will be a good option to consider as well. Because the great thing about Salesforce is when you start learning it, you don't really need to know any kind of programming languages. So you will be still learning it at some point of time, but to start with, it won't require any prerequisite programming language skills. This is because Salesforce offers a lot of out-of-the-box capabilities that fits into almost every business, every domain's CRM needs. And it offers a lot of options to customize with less or no code by just click and configure. So these are the certifications that we would recommend if you aspire for an administrator role. So if you are a fresher, we would recommend you to go with the Salesforce administrator certification path. And upon getting a job, if you wanted to grow further, you can actually plan for this advanced administrator certification. And in addition to this, join Trailblazer community for mentorship. So this one is like the Salesforce provides the options to join the Trailblazer community and sign up for mentorships. Upon signing up, you will be assigned with a mentor from the community who will be like guiding you all through your learning process until your preparation time for an interview, till the time you appear for an interview. So they'll be available there to mentor you. And lastly, before you walk in for an administrator interview, make sure that you read the latest release updates from Salesforce. So you may be wondering about why you even need to go into this level of preparation, but still it will create an impression for the employer on how serious and passionate you are about learning the technology. So when they are actually talking about a particular piece of requirement or a particular feature, and if there is a related update in the latest release, you still can add it as an added advantage in your interview, and that will help that will create a better impression about you during the interviews. So that is all with guidance on how you can start a career as a Salesforce admin. Now let's go ahead and see how to actually prepare for this admin interviews with all these resources. So far we got to know, so what will be a team structure, with who these admin role will work along, and what will be their expectations, and what will be an employer expectations. Everything we have noticed, where to learn, everything we got to know. Now it's the time to start your preparation. So here we are going to share some quick tips and cracking some myths. So Trailhead certifications enough to get a job. So a lot of people get this question. So Salesforce offers Trailhead challenges, super batches, and certifications. So is it all enough to fetch a job? If you are in an assumption that a good Trailhead profile and numerous certifications will alone help you fetch a job, then the answer is no, not at all. Certifications, you can just consider it as a prerequisite for taking up a Salesforce interview. So it may increase your chances of getting shortlisted maybe for another level of interview, but that alone will not get you a job. So everything that an employer will look for when you walk in for an interview is a good technical understanding and your hands-on expertise over the job roles and responsibilities. Before you go for an interview, better try to understand the responsibilities and the job description they have posted, and you should try matching your preparation to match that responsibilities that they are looking for. So sign up for a Trailhead for a developer edition and start preparing by simply practicing. So even for any kind of roles in Salesforce, so you cannot just go with the theoretical knowledge alone. You have to have hands-on experience. So better sign up for developer edition, and you can start practicing things like creating fields, creating profiles, giving various level of permission to different profiles. So everything needs to come by practice. And also, then when it comes to the questions, interview questions, the questions will vary from basic to advanced. And normally, right, it's your performance with the basic questions that will let your employer decide whether to continue asking more of the advanced question or just to stop the interview there with the basic concepts itself. So ensure that you prepare and answer all the basic questions to get into the next level of the interviews. So basic questions will be mostly a straightforward technical questions like what is something, or what are the types of a feature, or what are the capabilities of a feature. And advanced questions will be mostly on the scenario based. So with this, the employer will actually try to assess your hands-on expertise with a particular feature. So you can expect the questions to be mostly like how this can be done, or how will you solution a particular use case. So how will you troubleshoot a particular issue, or what will you be doing when any of the user reports a particular issue of this kind. So mostly scenario based. So basics will be mostly straightforward technical questions, and advanced concepts, it will be mostly a scenario based practically related questions. And the last thing, so this is actually meant for an experienced resource who has at least an experience before trying to Salesforce. If they have experience in any other domain, so how they can apply this domain skills in Salesforce, there are options for that as well. So if you are someone trying to change the career from a different technology to Salesforce, trust me, you have a lot of transferable skills. So what I mean by saying a transferable skills is, say for example, if you are working in a finance background now and you learn Salesforce for a career change, you can try and find companies that is on finance and is also using Salesforce. So there will be a lot of fewer people that have both Salesforce experience as well as a background in finance. Also, what Salesforce has started bringing out their own specific industry cloud offerings like finance cloud, health cloud, manufacturing cloud. So now you are even in a better position than anyone else. So because you come with the industry specific skills as well. So this will also be an added advantage. Your previous employments uh, will still help a lot you when you go for a Salesforce interview, particularly the domain knowledge. So with that, we are done with the preparation and knowing about all the stuff before even you prepare for an interview. And now we'll be covering some of the sample interview questions. So when we go over, so for the upcoming slides, we will just go over the questions one after another. And as we answer the questions, we will also be telling you what an employer will actually be expecting when they ask certain questions to you in the interviews. So starting with the first basic question on what are governor limits. So this question looks simple and straightforward, isn't it? But normally employers or the interviewers will have a lot of other expectations when they put a straightforward questions like this. It's quite normal in interviews that a few other questions will normally be chained along with the actual question. So in this case, the question is on the governor limits. Obviously, the answer is going to be something like the governor limits or the usage caps enforced through by Salesforce to ensure efficient processing. So at this time, the employer will expect you to add some additional detail on why governor limit. So it will be always good for you to continue this before even they ask for more. And to answer this question, Salesforce runs on a multi-tenant environment, right? So which means the resources like storage, CPU, and memory are shared with the other orgs running on the same platform instance. This means the limit must be in place to ensure that not a single instance monopolizes the resources, so the others will starve. So in order to avoid this, all the orgs under the Salesforce architecture must abide the certain rules and don't let their code or process monopolize the shared resources. So this is the basic reason on why they have governor limits. So if they may be obviously looking for some examples just to understand to what extent you are aware about the governor limits. So in this case, it will be like you can provide examples like email limits or push notification limits, per transaction apex limits. So like that, you can start providing a lot of examples. How many relation types are in Salesforce? So normally in interviews, the interviewer will be looking for some key details, not just the answers, like how well you understand the big picture. Definitely will create a lot of good impression for you in the interviews. So this is again a simple question. So this is nothing new. There are relationships like master detail, many to many, lookup, external lookup, indirect lookup, hierarchical. Again, the same way, you can expect few other questions to be chained along with this. But this time it will be different. So they may be looking for an explanation for all of those sometimes. And sometimes they may pick at least any one of them, like a master explain master detail. So they may ask questions like that. So you must be prepared for to answer almost all of the options. You know this, right? So every time you prepare or come across a particular concept, and if you see it has these many types or classifications, it is required for you to go over and each of them to understand it better. That way you can easily answer all of them in the interviews. Say, in this case, a master detail relationship is defined as the parent-child relationship between objects, where the master object controls the behavior of the detail object. Here, if the parent record is deleted, automatically the child records will also be deleted. Tip here is to share any use cases. Simply describing the concepts alone will not actually prove your level of or your depth of understanding over it. You can provide some simpler use cases and illustrations instead of providing some straightforward answers. And also when you prepare for an interview, try to relate each other things as well. So you can share some additional details. Even though they ask it for the master detail relationship, you will still be able to talk about few other things as well, about what can be achieved with master detail and which cannot happen with lookup, like the roll up ones and the summary fields. So you can talk about those as well. Moving on to the next question. When do we use data loader? So this is again, so when you have data between like 50,000 to 5 million, that is when you will go for a data loader. So everyone preparing for an interview will obviously know this. And you need to do the data load only for the objects that are not supported by the import wizard. So in this case, obviously by our answers, we are like pulling in other topics as well. Now, when you're answering some questions, stay conscious about the other topics too, because as if you're unsure about the other topics, better don't add it to your answers and invite some more questions on that. In this case, you can expect questions on the import wizards for sure, as you have mentioned. So the subsequent question may be, how can you then identify which objects are not supported by the import wizards? So you can invite some subsequent questions. So you will end up again talking about the import wizard. So you can go into the data management in the quick find and select the data management to see what actually supports and what not. So that is one way of answering, or what the other expectations the employers will have on the data loader questions. Moving on with the other question, differentiate profiles and permission sets. The answer would be something like a profile controls what you can do with a record. Say a sales profile can see accounts and create and read opportunities. A permission set can extend those permissions for a specific user or a subset of users to reduce the number of profiles we create, like giving only the sales managers create and edit access to accounts, but not to the whole sales profile. So while you go into more detail about these type of questions, so because in this case, when they ask you about the difference between profiles and permission set, so there are a lot of chances for you to talk about the different types of standard and custom profiles. And what you should bear in mind is, so whether is it a simple test of knowledge, or are they are looking for a genuine solution? It all depends. This question may come as directly like differentiate profile and permission set. Sometimes it come as a scenario based. You must first understand in what intention this question is being asked, just to, if they are just trying to understand, they're just trying to assess your understanding, so you can limit your answers to that. So often if the interviewer is satisfied with your knowledge just from the way in which you answer the question, they wouldn't need to go further into the details. The trick here is not just here, but with almost all the questions, is you share the details in your answers but the answers really don't need to be much detailed unless it is necessary. And the last questions with the basic admin, how can grant access using hierarchy be changed in standard objects? So again, this is a simple but tricky question. So the answer here is simply not possible. It requires no justification, but still you can expect on how it actually works. It is simply about how you can specify whether users have access to the data owned by or shared with their subordinates in the hierarchy. And yes, this setting can be changed for the custom objects, but not the standard objects. So sometimes you can expect questions to be in this form as well, though the answer is no, but still they will expect for an answer for the things that won't work in real time at all. So these are some of the sample basic admin questions and the expectations the interviewer will have when they ask these questions to you. So with that, we can move ahead with the advanced interview questions. Explain view all and modify all permission. So view all and modify all permissions are usually given to system administrators. So you would know this. And when you grant view all or modify all for an object or on a profile, you grant any associated users access to all the records, regardless of the sharing and the security settings. So which means the view all and modify all will simply ignore the permissions provided at the sharing model role. Permissions, and the users will have the ability to do mass transfer, mass update, mass delete for a specific object, and even approve some of the records that comes for approval. So even if they are not designated as an approver. So this is like at profile level, this may look like a simpler change, but trust me, this is a greater change. And if the administrator is not completely aware about this particular feature at the profile level, the interviewer will definitely have hesitate to hire them, because this is one another serious change. So the administrator should be aware about all the critical changes that they are touching with respect to profile, permission sets, and everything. So this is one important question to be considered. And in what order? So this is simply to assess their understanding about data management. So as I have told you, they will be involved in a lot of data migration and the data integration related activities, that this will become an obvious question sometimes. In what order would you migrate leads, contact, accounts, and opportunities? Mostly, right? So per the flow, what we understood is, okay, so normally all this will go from the order, right? It will start from lead and it will go to account, contact, and opportunities. But when it comes to data load or data migration, it's not the same order that it will work. The correct order is account, contact, opportunities, and then leads. Both contact and opportunities are related to accounts. So account must be loaded first. Lead should be loaded last in order to avoid some duplicates with the contacts. So answering this will definitely demonstrate your understanding of data migration skills. And this questions requires a lot of understanding of the relationship between objects. Again, a question related to data security. So give any 5 reasons for loss of data in Salesforce. So again, changes in Salesforce that are related to data are critical. So they must be knowing, so by making what change, they can expect a loss in data. So this ensures that they are careful enough about the data integrity when they are making any changes as an administrator. So what will be the reasons? So the first direct reason will be they are directly deleting it. So accidentally or due to any malicious intervention. So they are deleting these records, or one record or multiple records using any utility programs in a time. Or else bad code can actually incorrect the changes made to the records. So when I say loss of data, it just doesn't mean deletion of data, but also the updation of the data. The right ones will get updated by the wrong ones. It's like a bad code that after a production release, a bad code may actually end up. So why we are knowing all this is when there is a issue with the data loss, they must be knowing all of these 5 places in order to troubleshoot the issue. So they will not be working alone, they will be working with different teams, but these will be like the 5 places they will need to look into. So the first one is direct deletion. So the second one is a bad code may delete the record, modify the record, or their data import might have gone wrong. So when they do the mapping, when they do the data load via a data loader, so if they do an incorrect mapping, obviously some of the data will get overridden and there will be a loss in the data. And SOQL mistake can happen in any instant. So when some certain queries are executed, some DML operations are executed, which is not from the code directly, may also have potential impact on the large number of records. So they will be required to take a backup in this kind of situations. And the last, but a very rare cases, data being polluted by an integration service. So when they have their system or Salesforce integrated to another party, so the integrations will actually happen in the background. There will not be a person sitting on the other end looking into how the data comes here and goes there. So that will happen in the background automatically, and that will also remain one area where they can expect some kind of data loss. And what are the different level of data access in Salesforce? So in what levels an access can be provided, granted or restricted? So starting from the security and starting from the organization level. So when you say you provide an access to a particular user means, it means you have created a user account for them at the org level. So it starts from the organization and then you have granted them access. Now it's about granting permissions to objects. So they'll now get access to your objects. So it starts from organization, goes to object. And when it comes to object, again, it's about the field level security. So what fields are exposed to them. So that is the third level of data access. And finally, to the record level of access. So record level of access, even if they have the permission to the object or the field, but still there will be some record level restrictions based on their role hierarchy, sharing rule and the manual sharing things. So there will still be some restrictions. And when you answer this question, you will be in understanding about in what level of interview you are in, whether you have crossed the basic questions. And at this point, if they have asked you this question, so you may be expected to elaborate your answers a bit more detailed. And sometimes you will even land in questions like explain about role hierarchy. So you can even expect questions more on the answers that you are providing for this particular questions. And how to restrict record access using sharing rules. So this is again one another tricky question, as we have seen one in the last basic question. So you can use sharing rules to grant a wider access, but you cannot restrict access below your organization default settings. And some scenario based questions. So in the interest of time, I'll be going a bit fast. And so if a user doesn't have access to a specific record type, will they be able to see the records that have the record type? So users can view the records of all the record types. So as long as they have read access to the object and sharing access to the record, so the record type access won't deny them from viewing the record. So this is one sample scenario based question. And I have not given any CRUD skills or permission the profile level for a custom object, yet I'm able to create records for that object. How could this be possible? So this is again to assess the troubleshooting skill of a particular user. So when they don't have that permission at the profile level, it's obvious that they will have it at the permission set level. And again, suppose if a record meets the workflow criteria for the time-based workflow action and the action goes to queue, later before the time-based action is triggered, the same record gets modified and the criteria previously met is changed. Now it doesn't meet the actual work criteria that we specified in the workflow. So what happens in this case? So in this case, this is actually to better understand your skills on workflow and all other things. So this is simply the time-based workflow action will be removed from the queue. However, important to note that so if you haven't enabled that reevaluate workflow rules after field check box in the workflow level, so it will not actually remove from the queue unless you edit the record for another time. So though the answer is simply no, it will be removed from the queue, you will be required to add this additional information as well. And so this is the another sample scenario based question. So in partner community, external user is having appropriate OWD, but still they are not able to view a particular report from the partner community side. So what will be the reasons? So OWD grants them access at the optional object level. The next thing as part of the troubleshooting step they'll be doing is to check their field level security as well. And also the standard report visibility setting should be enabled in this case. If both of these are available, then obviously they'll be able to see the report with no issues in the partner community. So these are some samples on the scenario based questions. So I hope this all gave you a good idea on how you can expect question as a beginner and as well as an appearing for any advanced roles. So with that, we are getting into the interesting part of this session, the quiz time. I would request Kader.
Yeah, Kritika. Yeah, thank you. So participants, it's time to quiz. So we have a wonderful quiz. So kindly participate in this quiz. We showed one by one question in the slides. If you have any answer, please unmute and answer the questions. So kindly please show the questions, Kritika. So how many types of objects available in Salesforce? The option is 1, 2, 3.
Two types.
Two types.
Two types.
Two. So can you please explain how it's a two types?
So standard and custom objects.
Custom object.
Yeah, it's a correct. Really, it's a correct answer. But we have an external object also. But we basically point out it's two. It's a correct answer. So next question.
You are right.
Yeah. So next question. Sales process belongs to which standard object?
Opportunity.
Opportunity.
Also.
Yeah. It's an amazing answer. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next question. Is it possible to have the standard object as a child in an MD relationship?
No.
Parent is also a standard object.
Is this possible? Yes or no?
No.
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 Yes.
Yeah,
No, it is not
it's-
possible.
so-
Yes.
So no.
Yeah. Any explanation, guys? You want to give an explanation for this?
Yeah, as I read through an article, I came to know about this. That standard object, which are we can't use it as a child in our master data relationship. It can only be detail.
Child
Yeah,
object should not be a detail side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a reason. For every child, we need a parent. So standard, we can't create a parent for standard. So we cannot have such relationship. We can't have.
Okay. Yeah. So next question. Find out the admin out.
Sharing
Sharing setting.
Sharing settings.
Yeah. It's a wonderful answer for this question. Yeah. Thank you. The next question. Which action is not available in Process Builder compared to the Flow Builder?
Delete
Record.
Deleting a record.
Delete record.
Yeah. It seems to be everyone have more knowledge in Salesforce. Yeah, so nice. Delete record is the right answer. The next question. Move on to the next question. How many standard objects supports data import wizard?
5.
5.
Not sure.
The answer, please. Yeah, it's a correct answer. Can you please have the name name of the objects.
Accounts, contacts,
Account,
leads,
contact, leads.
solutions,
Opportunity.
campaign members.
Contact opportunities leads.
Yeah, you guys are mind blowing.
Opportunity, I don't
Can I
know.
call you after some time? I'm in meeting.
Yeah. So next question.
I guess opportunity doesn't support it.
How many standard object that supports mass delete records? You know what? We have a mass delete in a.
Yeah,
Salesforce.
set up master.
Yeah. How many objects are support?
6.
The answer, please.
6. Answer is 8.
Okay.
The
Can you
next
please
question.
name them?
What are the
Most
Can you
objects
please
that
name the?
supports? Yeah.
Just a minute. For
It's
the question
content
number
lead.
7, I just wanted to know the standard objects which support mass delete records.
Yeah. Account,
With the-
contact.
Contact and lead. Yes.
Someone is explaining about the seventh answer, right?
Contacts and leads.
Yes.
ID and what ID? What is the
Question I'm
difference
asking.
between who ID and what ID?
Yeah, it's a who ID belongs to the person,
Account and
like a
opportunity.
contact and some other things. And what ID means it's like a account and opportunities. So next question. Which option allows you to add same pick list values across all objects in the org?
Global value set.
Global value set.
Global value set.
Global.
Global value set.
Yeah, it's a
As
global
name
pick list
indicates.
value. So next question. Move on to the next question.
Yeah.
Actually, the answer is global value set. Once we go and search in quick find box, we don't any option search in global value. We just put in pick list value sets. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
3.
How many types of pages available in
Three.
Salesforce Lightning?
3.
Anyone say the name?
Record page, home page.
Record page, home page, and
App
page. App page. Sorry.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah. Thank you guys for the wonderful participation. And this is a time to reveal them career path. Actually, we have an admin area. We just focus on with the admin area. We have single position, single decision designation. But that's not true. In a Salesforce admin, we have a lot of opportunities and a lot of designations also. So I focus on this diagram. So it explains what all are the positions are available in admin, Salesforce admin. Once we become a Salesforce admin, we write a Salesforce, get a certification in Salesforce admin. After that, we move on to the advanced admin. So after that, we have a lot of opportunities like a non-profit consultants. Like you can switch to your position admin to developer also and become a business analyst and consultant, business owner, data manager, project manager, a lot of things. It's don't have any end in admin area. So and I like to this is time to share the winner, slogan winner. Actually, we introduced the slogan contest for the admin group. So I like to share the winners details among you guys. So let me share my screen. I like to expose the winner. So who are going to? So Katyayani, you are the winner because she had the photo with the favorite Salesforce character and with the wonderful quotes. A place where the best contestants strive for the best guidance with the team's remarkable skills and talent to fuel our efforts. It's a nice one. We have received a lot of slogans and a lot of responses from the people, but I choose Katyayani as the one of the person is the winner in this slogan contest. And thank you. And guys, we have another one session for tomorrow. It's for a developer. We just roll out the URL for some practice set questions. Kindly use those practice set and try to solve those things. If you have any issues, come up with next day. I mean, tomorrow we discuss on those things also. And
Gadar, can you please send the link?
Yeah. So Lavanya, can you please send the links to the participants? I mean, practice set and
Sure,
And guys, kindly spend 2 to 3 seconds to give the feedback about the session. We roll out the feedback URL also to you guys. Kindly fill out those things and keep support. You have any questions to ask to Kritika, guys? Anyone want to have some doubts regarding the session?
I just have a question, Kritika.
Yeah.
Nowadays, people are like, I don't know, but people still says that admin there is not much scope. You should move on to the development part. And people are asking in Indian market there is no much scope for admin. So is that something we need to worry about, or like admin can survive still?
Yeah, so,
Right.
so that's the point, right? So we have made the reference as the customer point. Obviously, there is some level of lower counts of requirements in the IT vendor side, but still it is there is a good demand from the customer side, like the actual industry who do the maintenance of the Salesforce and things, right? So they will not be requiring an IT support all the time. So it is in those places, administrators still have a lot of demand. So till this point, you don't have to worry about pursuing an admin career in Salesforce.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Any other questions, Steve?
One question. I had hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had one doubt. Like in a related list, we have to delete the delete button. So is it possible to delete or hide the delete button from the related list?
You mean remove the delete button, right? It's done at the access level of the arc. If they don't have that access, it will actually go away from that particular related list.
Okay, so okay, even if they have the access and if you want to delete it, like then.
So they have access, but you wanted to remove some of the standard ones, you cannot, Ritika.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, folks?
Hi, Kritika. So I do have one question. So I had been looking at the various job descriptions which have been posted by multiple companies. So at minimum, they require like 2 to 3 years of experience for the role. But how does it work out for the people who are like freshers in the Salesforce industry? They might not be the freshers in this IT industry, but they are freshers in the Salesforce industry. So
Yeah. So
what would be the
positions, Smriti? So yes, it's a difficult situation for freshers because obviously when they look for a critical role, they will expect some level of experience. But still, there are companies that offers internships. And when I say it as an internship, they will obviously be knowing that the candidates will not have any experience, and they'll be taking some responsibility to train them with regards to the industry and the technology. So instead, I would recommend to start looking for some intern positions as well. And also it's good to have some level of community contributions too, like having some kind of community profiles or is one good thing. But you can also, when you are striving for a position, do some active community activities like blogging and all other stuffs as well.
Okay. And do you have any tips like how should a resume for a Salesforce fresher? I mean, I do have like 9 years of experience in IT industry, but I'm fairly new to Salesforce. So how does it work? Like what should be the resume look like for a Salesforce fresher? Like if they want to get at least shortlisted for the interview call, leave it alone. Yeah.
Your previous experience a lot. So as I've mentioned, so domain thing is you can actually go to Salesforce website and see if any of their industry offerings matching any of your previous experience skills. So if that matches, so you will be actually good enough to learn a lot about that, and you can update your resume stating that you have the industry skills as well of
Okay.
the domain skills. So the domain skills is something that the actual when a role comes from the customer side, so domain skills is having huge demand, though they don't
Okay.
have the Salesforce exposure. So Salesforce exposure, you'll be able to gain it in shorter time, but not the industry expertise.
Right.
But definitely industry expertise will help you a lot in terms when you have an experience already, Smriti.
Got it. Thank you.
So you may know what industry you have served for the last 9 years?
PeopleSoft. So I have worked in
People's.
PeopleSoft financial industry. Yeah, financial ERP.
Okay, okay. Yeah, then obviously look for those areas, and there are a lot of options to explore this there as well. And you can you can highlight your industry experience a lot in your profile in that case.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Smriti.
Anyone else have any doubt, any questions for Kritika?
Yeah, so I have one.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Am I audible?
Sagar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have 5 years experience in Oracle Service Cloud as an admin kind of role, and I'm a fresher for Salesforce, and also I am developer certified. So whenever I mention in a resume, that time I mention Oracle Service Cloud has 5 years experience. But when I uploaded on Naukri.com or other websites, that time they will consider as a 3 years experience and 4 years experience in Salesforce. So how can I make a resume like I'm a fresher for Salesforce, because I mentioned a 5 years experience in Oracle Service Cloud. That's why they're taking a 5 years experience Salesforce. So
So
whenever
where you're
I got
actually
the
problem, Sagar, in getting your resume selected for interviews or at the time of interview
no
process itself?
no whenever they call me, they are they will like I have only a 5 years experience in Salesforce, so I'm a fresher. So how can I mention in the resume so I'm a fresher in Salesforce?
Resume as a fresher in Salesforce, so you should again write. So you need to talk about a lot of your previous industry expertise as well, and you can tell them how it will actually fit into your their current role as part of the job description. But if
Yeah.
it still remains a problem, then again you may want to look for. So normally this demand will come from some bigger firms if they are in a situation to find an apt role for a critical resource requirement. But still, I hope that will not be a demand for some companies with some configuration oriented services, right? When they provide consultation on configuration related services, there shouldn't be a problem. But still, I would request you to keep trying, and you don't really have to specify it as that you are a fresher to Salesforce in the resume itself. But as you proceed with the process, you can let the interviewer know. But there
Yeah.
is no point in upfront mentioning it upfrontly in the resume, because
No,
you will still be.
yeah. I am not mentioned as a Salesforce freshers, but I mentioned as a Oracle Service Cloud 5 years experience.
Okay, okay. And you are applying for a Salesforce position.
Salesforce, yeah, I'm switched my career Oracle Service Cloud to Salesforce itself.
Okay. So mostly focus on their job description, Sagar. So maybe you
Yeah.
can keep resumes updated.
Okay.
So based on the role and the job description, so you can make the changes to your resume to fit that particular job description and stay prepared for it. So that is one
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sagar.
Kritika, I have one question. Nowadays people, wherever I see on LinkedIn and everywhere, people are more onto in the certifications, and sometimes people say certifications are important. Sometimes they say trailers are important. So, what according to you will suggest? Should I focus more on certifications as I have 2 years experience in Salesforce, or only three certifications I'm holding. So or on trailheads, what like what is the
Super batches will
most?
be better to start, I mean, because certifications, like, there are a lot of fake profiles in the market. Even when we do interviews for our company for few positions as well, we have found a lot of candidates with fake experience. They'll just have the certifications alone. That's the reason it's affecting a lot of other candidates in the job pool as well. But instead of striving for certification, so certification may be helpful once you get into a job. I mean, a lot of certifications. But in order to get into a job or knack an interview and get placed into a job, either one or two certifications should be enough, not more than that. Instead, you can start working on the super batches and accomplish some level of ranger qualifications in trailheads. You can look for that instead certifications, because even if you have certifications, the employers will still look for the skills, actual
Yeah,
hands-on
right.
skills.
Yeah, actually, that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm already having the ranger rank and all. Then two people says that even again after this also you need to have certificate. So like little bit confused. Right? Some people says ranger rank and doing super batches is more important than certifications. And now I see people selling dumps and all. So that's why I have not. I've forced myself to not to give any certification exam.
Yeah, so even if they have tons of certifications, so still they will be put into that detailed technical level of assessment as well. They will obviously find who's the right candidate, who has the right skills, and who has the fake resume. They'll be able to easily figure it out. So I'm pasting one link here. Yeah, Kader has also shared it. So I request all of the attendees to take a copy of this. So this is one useful link that Salesforce offers to start a career in Salesforce, or be you are a fresher or experienced from a different domain. So this opens up a lot of other options too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aman.
Thanks a lot, Kritika, for answering all the questions. And the session was really impressive. I really
Thank
felt
you.
good.
Yeah, kindly fill out the feedbacks in feedback URL. It's more helpful to grow
Yeah, I have
and
submitted
groom
that.
ourselves, and we provide a lot of meetups which is helpful to guys. Thank you for the cooperation and participation.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.